Alright, and welcome back to the channel, everybody, and I hope you're doing fine. So just finished the stream, and I promised you the map video as soon as possible, so we're gonna probably have a very short night today. We have two videos that we're gonna analyze today. First is gonna be the very short one where they just, well, they revealed the map, but they don't show much. And then I will go through a rather long video, the one with PC Games, where they actually talked with Scott and revealed a lot about the new map and also sharing their thoughts. So, yeah, I'm gonna put my thoughts on top of that, although nobody asked for that, but here we go. First, the short one. Let's go. Here we go. Colorado.
At this land. What do you think you see?
Epicness. I mean, I'm sorry, yes, I'm gonna stop right here already. I know, annoying. But what is this? I mean, excuse me? Cinematics, right? This is basically a wallpaper? Absolutely crazy. Might do this a couple more times today. Okay, but let's keep going. Physics of the water. Here we go. I approve. I mean, just look at this, the lighting.
Splendor, right?
Different trees, lovely, even like this ground structure is insane.
That could define a generation.
Okay, maybe stop here real quick. So, what can we see here? So, I'm gonna spoiler already a little bit the other video. So, there will be a mine system connecting compounds and going through the mountains. And I think we see a part of that. Again, I like the little details with the grunt at the end of the letter there. So we will have actually some cave/fighting in mines, which is pretty crazy in my opinion. Let's see what else they're gonna show us.
That might have been true once, but
that's a crap ton of bones, man.
they took everything this land had.
Okay, sorry. I know. Yes, annoying. This right here, you can see on the right the black grapes and everything. We had this already once, so this is probably the new event. And I hope they will bring back the sealed cache where you can restore your bars and everything. I'm crying like a little baby every stream right now when I'm losing bars and everything is banished. Feels bad, man. I don't see new AI, but again, this cave seems to be a little bit bigger with a lot of this, yeah, molten rock. Well, okay.
And wanted more. The wells ran dry, so they.
Okay. Oh, Jesus. Okay. Right here. Now, keep in mind, every video that I'm using today, link in the description. Okay, so if you want to see it without me interrupting it, then yeah, go ahead. Now, the cool thing about this is if you check the tower, it seems to be, there are even two letters in there. The first one at the bottom, you look at it from the side, and then you have another one 90 degrees to that, and you can go all the way up. So you will have a nice scouting position there for sniping. Sure drawback, you will be trapped up there like a rat. It looks very high, so I don't think you can just jump out of that.
Did anything they could to bring them back.
Oh yes, terrible things.
Done in the dark.
There's a mom joke in there, but
land consumes the living. The only thing that blooms is rot and corruption. The mines.
Oro mine.
Yield only darkness and suffering.
Okay, I'm gonna stop here another time. This is one of the concerns that I do have though. Fighting in these tunnels, I hope they will be a little bit bigger, because otherwise this is gonna be a shotgun party. Beetles might be actually pretty good, because people might sit around the corner. And you might want to know that they are there, and you can do some scouting with the beetle. On the other hand, always complaining about long ammo solo snipers. Now we have this. Might be a way to cross the map without getting sniped from somebody. Could be an option. Let's see. Oh baby.
Killers like you will keep coming.
Let's see, Vedderly.
You're the only ones who can prosper here.
my dear lords.
Breathe deep. Take your fill. Welcome to Mammon's Gulch.
It's Gulch.
Welcome to 1896.
Nice. Okay, then this is the end of the video. A quick screenshot right here. Yeah, new legendary hunter. Fitting. I like it. Same with the one that I showed you in the last analysis video 2 days ago. I hope 2 days ago. Hope I can be fast with the editing. Looking forward to that. You know what? The second video is way more interesting because we will be joining our discussion between PC Games, I think, and Scott. And Scott is working for Crytek and explaining basically the thoughts and everything behind their decision making, how they designed the map. So let's jump to that real quick.
Glad to be with you guys. Thanks so much for talking with me about this.
So that's
major
Scott and
update
that's
coming
PC
on
Games.
Showdown. Something bordering on sequel size, I think I'll say. And already we're seeing lots of new aspects of the environment here. Even the trees look different. You know, Colorado has a different...
I mean, okay, I'm gonna stop this very often. Not just the trees are different, just look at the ground. The leaves that you have, the grass, pieces of bark and other stuff. Love it. We have now tents in the background there and on the right. Completely new structures, so this will just be a fucking joy, man. I'm sorry.
Different kind of forestry around it. That makes a lot of sense. So, you know, what informed the direction to kind of take the game here as a location? What does this do for Hunt?
Yeah, so we really
with the
for us,
clue
what we
inside
were
the
looking
tent.
for is what's the next expansion outside of the Bayou that kind of fits the core theme of what our game is. And we knew throughout all of our player feedback and as well as internally, what we really wanted was to really push the boundaries of what we're capable of doing.
Okay, so fair point here. I agree with this because a lot of people were like, oh my god, but this is not the Bayou anymore. You're fighting a plague, right? So a plague can spread. And this is apparently what happened. And now the hunters, of course, come to, well, put an end to this or to help. And why not, honestly? You could do another map like the Sol, which is basically in the same biome, more or less. And it would get boring. I'm happy that they're going this direction out of the Bayou into something completely different. In my opinion, it could have been even a little bit more daring than quote-unquote just Colorado. Looks great, absolutely amazing. Especially verticality, you saw already multiple levels. Bottom of the canyon, then the bridge, and you can go up here, and you're not even in a compound right now. Or at least it looks like you're not in a compound.
Right? And so what I mean by that is we had player feedback that said, hey, we really like the verticality in a lot of the compounds, right? Like, Evan, as you've played this game, you're familiar.
Wow. Okay, then let me just jump back real quick a couple seconds to this right here. Yeah, okay, I might edit it so you don't see me scroll back or rewind. The density of this forest is a little bit bonkers. Is it not? So, I think this is a map border in all honesty, because if that's a forest, good luck with sniping, actually. Because that's a little bit too much, right? It's okay to have cover, go from cover A to cover B, but this looks like a map border because this is way too much. I hope I'm wrong, because it would also be very, very epic to fight in that a little bit more close range. Okay.
With it, some of our best moments are rooftop to roof type gameplay, right? And so we wanted to capture a more extreme version of leaning into
somebody has shadow,
leaning into this environment that has more slopes, more verticality, and just an overall different scene. That
I need a verticality word counter.
Showdown and really captures, you know, the essence of us while also saying, hey, this is a new way to play Hunt.
Okay.
So let's talk about these mines. So, you know, my understanding is these mines are going to connect certain compounds. Like, how does that work in terms of layout?
Yeah. So in the center, a big focal point for us was in the center of our maps. We know that that's where all of our players funnel into. And so we kind of wanted to flip the experience on its head and say, hey, we're going to have 2 mines in the center of the map. And around those mines, there will be compounds that you can get to. So
this is pretty epic because it gives you multiple options to traverse the map. And sometimes you know there are long ammo snipers, or you know the other guys play shotguns, and then you can adjust your gameplay. You know, you go up against long ammo dudes, no close range loadouts, you go through the mines. You know, somebody might play a little bit more aggressively, and you need to get some space and distance against them, and then fight at, I don't know, 100 meter plus. Then you go outside. This is great. Again, the tunnel system, it looks very narrow. Let's see, I hope they show a little bit more.
We have a north mine and a south mine. The north
yeah,
mine
okay, this is already a little bit bigger.
Certain compounds inside of there. And then there is a gap between the two mines, which also has two connecting compounds as well. That leads you to the south mine, which then leads you to another compound. So think of the heart of the
Look
map.
at the amount of entry
of the mines, and then you have
exit
a connecting
points.
route through the mines, which gives you a little bit more safe traversal. But at the same time, you're losing the information that you would normally get in our maps like Stillwater or any of the first 3 maps. Because when you're in the middle of the map, you normally have more information.
Yeah,
more
I mean,
audio.
okay, give me a second here. Alright, just check this out. Wow. I mean, this is a huge building, right? You have like multiple levels in that. You're coming out of the mine, multiple entry and exit points. There's a lot of pathing that you will need to cover. This is pretty crazy, I have to say. So first impression is very solid. I don't see any moving trains though. Yet.
And you have crows and you have all these elements that kind of inform you where you're at. But when you're in the mines, you're taking the chance of saying, hey, I'm getting less information, but I'm more safe to travel.
Yeah, really interesting. I mean, there are, of course, some underground environments in certain compounds. In Hunt, you know, King Snake Mine is sort of a much smaller version of this. It's much more spacious than I expected. And I guess, like, so how many compounds can you reach through the mines, if that makes sense? Like, do they spit out to like 3 or 4 of them or more than that?
You will be more safe in the mines. Debatable, because I can see a lot of people sit with shotguns or close range loadouts, doesn't even matter, doesn't have to be shotguns, and just wait for people. Especially with the new trap system, I can see that the mines become a death trap very, very quickly. It really depends on who you go up against, and it makes it way more important to get information about the enemy loadout and then adapt your playstyle. Will you go in the mines, or will you go, well, all the way over the mountains? Let's see.
Yeah, so you can connect directly to 4 compounds inside of there. Yeah. And so 2 of them kind of back up directly into the mine, and then there's some that are a little bit more on the outskirts. But when you're going through these mines, you'll see signage for like
yo, that
Plata
cave
mine
is
or
huge.
O'Donovan
That's
Stone.
cool.
And that's pointing you.
Okay,
in
you
the
can have
direction to
like
the
your
closest
regular
compound
compound gunfight in there.
But like La Plata mine is one that's right on the outskirts, whereas O'Donovan mine is right there. And so you get a full connection. So you get to be sneaky, you get to go through the mines, and then boom, you're right at the compound looking at the boss lair.
And what sort of combat encounters are you anticipating in the mines specifically? Like, looking at it, it seems like a great opportunity to stage ambushes.
What we originally thought was, okay, well, how many people are actually going to use the mines early on in playtests, right? Because, you know, you want to be able to get into the combat, and people really like the gunfights in our game. What we see from our playtests and how everyone seems to be enjoying it is a little bit of a hide-and-go-seek kind of experience where you go into the mine and you can set up some traps and you can really catch people off guard, but it's very safe.
Again, safe for who? Like, if somebody's in there with a close-range ambush loadout, setting up traps, you go in there, this is not going to be safe. So, realistically, I don't think it will happen too much. Because there are so many mine paths, and maybe people will not go in the mine at all. So spending their time with your traps will be a huge gamble, honestly. So maybe we will have some highways in the mines where we know, okay, everybody's using these paths, so maybe you wait over there. There are some highways that, you know, on the old maps where people very often engage each other. So, on the other hand, somebody with a sniper scope will most likely not go in there at all, so all the people with close to mid-range loadouts will meet in there, and then the chances will most likely be fair. As long as you don't step on a shotgun around the corner.
Inside of there. So you can peek out, look at a compound, get an understanding of if any threats are there, and then go back in and then reposition to get a different angle. So it's a little bit of hide and go seek, lots of trap gameplay, but the most important part of the mine, and all of our hunt players know this, is normally when you get caught in a position in hunt, it's very hard to get away from your opponents. You're normally like kind of a sitting duck, but in the mines, because there's a lot of different routes and it can lead to a lot of different areas on the map.
Okay, before he continues, this is something that is great. So you can retreat from there, and I told it already earlier, and they showed it already. So many entry and exit points, different paths in there. Maybe you will even have different levels in the mines. So if you're not feeling the fights, or the moment you think you're losing and you're running out of mats and whatever, it might be not too difficult to get some distance between your enemies and reposition, as Scott mentions it actually.
You're actually able to reposition and flip the experience, so you have more time to heal.
Okay, sorry, but right there, the hell? Can we use this? I mean, I see ladders there on the left. Maybe this moves. I mean, I'm just dreaming here a little bit, okay, because I don't think we will get trains, but maybe something like that. A cable car would be kind of cool. One can dream.
You have different advantage points, and you can kind of turn the tide on the enemy team if you get caught.
This looks
Can you say
great.
anything about the updates that the existing maps will get, after the facts?
This is our most polished map we've ever shipped, and it's a big leap forward for us on visual fidelity, both on Gen 9 consoles, but also on PC as well. And so, as we were going through this map, we identified all of the assets that we were able to up-res and also just redo because we have a higher budget because our engine can support it. So all of our maps are going to be getting the similar love. So there is major updates coming to our existing, like maps 1 through 3, that'll be brought to the same level of visual fidelity.
What? Okay, so I'm gonna spoiler here already something. So when this map releases, we will only have this map. Makes sense because nobody else is gonna play map 1, 2, 3. Everybody wants to play this one. And then they use the time to polish the other ones. Maybe they're already working on that, I don't know. So that's great because there is such a difference between how the other maps look compared to this one. So that is nice.
And in a couple of them, in like map 2 is a good example, we are looking to intentionally make gameplay changes to.
Okay, if you talk about map 1, 2, 3, maybe not everybody knows what kind of map that is. So map 2 is probably Lawson Delta.
Some of the compounds to kind of alleviate some of the pain points that our players have expressed to us.
As you prepare to introduce this map in the big update, what is the initial configuration of the maps going to be? Like, will I only be able to play the new Colorado map?
Yeah, that's correct. So for the first 30 days of our update,
that's a long time.
Have access to the Colorado map. And so it's called Mammon's Gulch. So I got to get used to saying Mammon's Gulch versus Colorado. That's when you've been under the hood for a long time. It's what happens. So you'll be on Mammon's Gulch for a full 30 days. And then after 30 days, we will release the Stillwater.
Okay, yeah, sorry for interrupting you there, Scott. Nice. I think he said Stillwater. Wait. Okay, we're gonna talk about this in a second. Only Stillwater? Okay. The level of detail that went into this map, just going through this tunnel bridge, is crazy. And then you come out of this bridge and you see this. Boy, buildings on fire. So that's interesting. I hope you can enter them. Like, one of the most disappointing things from the Sal map was realizing that you cannot enter every building. You can enter a lot of them, but not all of them. And it would be cool if that would be possible on this map.
Water value map. What we know from hunt maps is it takes hundreds of hours to really understand a full map because they are 1 kilometer by 1 kilometer with 16 compounds inside of there.
That's why new maps are the best.
More of a focused attention.
Is this like a prototype for a car?
Beneficial for the players, but also very beneficial for.
fire sprayer. Okay, we're gonna have some really cool new assets there. Hey, so apparently only Stillwater is coming back. He didn't mention the other maps. Yeah, okay. Well.
Us, so we can understand, hey, what's meshing well with you guys? What compounds do we need to look at based on player feedback to see if we can make any adjustments?
So Scott, at a top level, what kinds of behaviors and experiences did you have in mind as you guys were building this map, right? I mean, Hunt is wonderful because it can accommodate solo stealth sniping and like people that play really loud and just running with shotguns and melee weapons, right? Like it makes room for that spectrum of experiences, right? But I know, of course, that like you guys have had some thoughts around stalemates, for example, in the last couple of years, and how you manage that, I guess, as a type of behavior. So like what were kind of those big behaviors or experiences you had in mind as you built this map?
Okay, stalemates in this game, difficult. Stalemates in the game very often happen because conflict of loadouts. At least that's what I like to think. People in the boss lair, maybe a pistol and shotgun. Of course, they want to stay inside. They want to play their loadouts where it's the best, right? And that's close range. Long ammo sniper outside, Mosin sniper together with, I don't know, an uppercut or something like that. Mid to long range. No way he wants to go into that saloon, right? Now, it's important to mention that both sides are camping. The guys inside don't want to come out because then they will just get shot by the Mosin sniper because he has an insane advantage. And the Mosin sniper doesn't want to go in there because otherwise the shotguns will most likely blast him because they have the insane advantage. So this is normally what causes a stalemate, in my opinion. Let's see if I'm wrong.
Yeah, I'm going to touch on the stalemate part because I think that's the most interesting of what we've done here across all of our compounds, right? So
wow, fancy, dude.
If you look at the history of Hunt, what we've done to all of our maps is maps that have, or compounds that have very few choke points or very few entrances and exits from them, we've kind of tactically increased how many options players get. And so for Mammon's Gulch, what we said is, hey, we're going to make sure that every compound has six meaningful entrances and exits for attackers and defenders. And so that's kind of like a loose rule with 6. Sometimes you get a little bit less, but ultimately the main goal was provide more entrances and exits for attackers and defenders to take into consideration.
Okay, sorry. I hope he will not explain my concern that I have right now in the next couple of seconds. The amount of entries and entries and exits, or whatever you want to call it, is important, but also how viable are they? Now, if you look at pitching, for example, right? You have the water entry, you have the elevator, you have the south ramp, you have the big south ramp, and you have in the east with the metal door. So you have 5 entry points, and let me tell you, pitching is still crap. Okay? Stillwater has the elevator and 2 ramps, and that's it. Now, the problem is not entering the compound. The problem is attacking the boss lair itself. So it's nice that we have lots of entry points for the compounds. This is important. It's good that they have it on their, well, bullet point list. But this is not why we have stalemates.
While at the same time saying, hey, we know that we want to increase the engagement between the two, but we don't want it to be too attackers friendly, and we don't want it to be too defender friendly. So try to strike a nice balance between that. And what we see is stalemates can get broken a lot easier now because players are able to get out. But at the same time, it's also a lot harder to defend. So if you try to turtle up, if you don't bring traps and you don't fortify correctly, it is a game changer. So we are seeing more traps get used across the board, which also informed a trap change decision with how players can actually place traps.
It seems really exciting that like that system in particular is going to be pretty flexible, it seemed like. Yeah. But are there like particular limitations around it? So you wanted to avoid like, I don't know, players doing something truly, I don't know, hard, like evil.
I would never do that. So yeah. I hope they have this on their to-do list, because right now pushing a few compounds, or not compounds, wrong word, boss layers is where it's getting tricky. And again, if you want to defend, you have to fortify. But when you fortify again, then you will create maybe another stalemate. We need to play this, and I need to see it for myself. They have the right ideas, and right now it's just, you know, speculations.
They place traps, you know what I mean?
Brutality and hunt are pretty synonymous, so we leave it up to the player's creativity as to how far they'll push it with the traps. Now we do have...
And what about my sticky bomb, alert trip mine combo in the water? That was creative. You got rid of that. That's okay.
Of constraints as to, you know, which way, how the trap placement does work. What we feel really good about is them being able to go across windows, across the board. So if you go through the window, you trigger the trap. That feels really good. But we haven't seen anything too game-breaking or punishing inside of there. And internally, we have a lot of trap placers. David, the GM, is notorious for placing 1 million traps, and I hit every single one of them when I'm in his team. And it always gets me. And he's like, Scott, I pinged it. And I'm like, I know, but I missed it.
Yeah,
we all have that teammate
for sure who's a little zealous about
Yep, that's me. Give me the action.
Yeah. We're all the same.
It looks like we're on a ridge here. You know, I'm seeing some train tracks. Talk to us more about the kind of particular biomes or
I think we saw it already earlier.
Areas. What we really wanted to capture across the board was this feeling that when you're on the mountain, we want you to feel like you are on the mountain. Now, you still have places that you can hide.
It's pretty steep.
All those elements, but what you're seeing right here, one of the biggest changes that we've made to our forests is that they're dense forests, right?
Wait,
when you
this
see
is
these
not map border?
You see all these like needles, right? These needle trees. It makes player detection a little bit harder, and so you have to be more cognizant of, okay, what's around me, where the players could be, what sound is triggering, which also informed our decision to say, hey, you know, we need 2 new sound animal attractors. So we actually introduced bats, and we also introduced cows.
Okay.
And so when you hear a cow, you're like, oh, okay, players coming from this spot, I know that's where the cow is.
We heard the bats already from cave entry and exit points.
But, you know, I'd say key element for us was we wanted to capture the feeling of what it was like to be in Colorado, and how we can lend itself very nicely to Hunt Showdown gameplay. And at the beginning, we had very dense trees, and
dude, these buildings are all huge.
Trimmed them down, and then we started intentionally opening up more sight lines, so snipers would actually have a pretty good time playing on this map. Because before, you can imagine when you look at all those trees, like sniper players, like what line of sight do you actually get on people? So we made intentional decisions to kind of make sure that that playstyle was very prominent here.
Right. I mean, certainly with verticality and those long sight lines, it feels like you guys are really accommodating sniping. But likewise, with the introduction of bullet drop, you know, it's becoming a little bit more difficult in some ways. So, am I thinking about that the right way? You're sort of like you're not pushing sniping to the side or even anything close to eliminating it.
Okay. First of all, I don't think they're doing this. They're making sniping actually a little bit harder due to the bullet drop. So if you do the real sniping, we're talking here about 150, 200 meter plus, which is, you know, with the bullet drop might be a challenge. And getting line of sight on this map, I think when you are, there will be a couple points from where sniping will be pretty nice. However, I think everybody else will learn these positions very quickly and will pay these locations frequently a visit and, yeah, maybe kill a sniper or 2. One can only dream of that.
As a behavior, but it has this new dimension, literally.
Yeah, correct. It's got a, like, sniping has a whole new experience to it. You have bullet drop that you have to take into consideration. And then in this biome, the other thing you have to take into consideration is, sure, you might actually get this sight line on the enemy team, but because it's a longer sightline, do you have the ability to actually push your advantage after you've downed that player and then be able to wipe out the team or burn his body, right? And what we see throughout all of our playtests is a lot of players, like, if you intentionally want to snipe, you have avenues for that playstyle to work. but you have to be deliberate with it. And that's the key for us. We want each of these playstyles to be deliberate. And when you accommodate this landscape, we also need to make sure that players who are running only melee options, if you want to run just the katana with Berserker, you have the ability to take deliberate decisions and deliberate pathing to be able to put the advantage on your side.
Okay, let's be real here. Yes, melee in Hunt Showdown is strong, but playing only melee, you will get absolutely destroyed no matter what you do. So, sure, bomb blends together with a pistol, katana together with a bow or a rifle. Yeah, it works. Melee only... daring.
I'm guessing, like, you know, above the mine, there is traversable area for players. So, like, if, for example, somebody has a bounty and they run into the mine to get to an extract and they're... I can track them above ground, right? I can sort of
with the lightning
run in parallel with them. Do you think that's a viable technique that you had in mind?
Yeah, for sure. And so the hard piece there is, well, the balance that we wanted to strike is if you choose to get the bounty and you go through the mine, you're going to have a direct shot and you have the advantage because you have the direct shot because you're under the mine. If you're above and you're running around the mountaintop, you might have to take a little bit of a detour. And so you get this cat and mouse game of like, okay, where's the bounty carrier going to go? Are they going to continue to go south? Are they going to go right? I know they have 3 exits. How am I going to take advantage of that?
Okay, that is pretty cool. You also can see the bats there at the top, which is basically a new sound trap. I think the mines are a good option when you're the bounty carrier because you have dark side. So you can't get jumped in the mines because it's not possible as long as you have dark side, obviously. Maybe you can get trapped in there pretty easily, because when you only have like 3 exits, if the match is maybe still fresh, people can corner you there like a rat and then you can't get out, and you're between a rock and a hard place. Yeah, interesting. I like this. This is no criticism right now, because you can already see how many options and maybe failures you will encounter until you will adapt to the new map, which is crazy. So, King Snake Mine, maybe they're gonna open up that and connect a few compounds. That would be sweet.
And you mentioned bats a little moment ago. You know, certainly those noise hazards are some of my annoyances in Hunt Showdown and a really purposeful part of the game. Do bats only appear in the caves or the mines?
Right now, yes, that is correct. We have aspirations to put them in more places, you know, like inside of certain buildings to give you additional sound cues.
That would be cool.
But you know, the bats in the mines just feels like
when you learn this, then the bats outside, you can collect a lot of info.
Candidly, you need a little bit more distinct audible callouts when people are leaving the mines because you have that covered.
How would you compare this map to the other maps?
Wow, look at the trees.
We've heard about verticality, but in other aspects, it's more what and less what, might you say?
I'd say map 4 feels completely different than any map that you've ever played inside of Hunt Showdown. And so when you take into consideration
we have another loop here
and all of the verticality,
how far up can you go? Wait. I mean, just look at this. Sorry, Scott. Here. There's a building all the way up there. Is this just for the scenery? Or can you actually go up there and snipe down on the town? Huh. Because very often, the big mountains, big ones, they will just be map border. But that one right there, maybe there on the right you can go up? Boy.
And a lot of our compounds we've actually built fundamentally different. We actually changed the DNA.
Keep an eye out for
these eggs. Before, you know, you'd have a traditional compound, right? You'd have an outside perimeter that would have intentional holes, and then inside of there you'd have the boss building, and then you'd have some satellite buildings inside of there. What you see in this one is we actually have what we called internally kind of like mega structures in a couple of them, where you have to commit to the area to then be a part of it. So I'd say this map more than ever is your loadout determines how you're going to play the map very intentionally. Whereas, you know, if you play in the other maps, if you take a sniper, you have a lot of different angles that you can take, and you can put it to use generally anywhere. On this map,
I want this
very
now.
intentional.
Oh, the piano still works. That's great.
So if you take a sniper, you're going to choose different routes than if you were to take a shotgun or even a long ammo weapon in general, right? Without a scope, you have a little bit more verticality, and you have a little bit more, and you have the mines in the middle. But you have these routes that you can take that are a little bit more covered than what you're used to in our existing maps. You have more
Can't wait to fight there.
Right, so you have a lot of more emergent fights that happen in areas that previously would be underutilized in our other maps. So it's really, you're kind of always, it's pulling a lever almost as to when you're going to get into engagement and how it's going to work. So more surprises, more intentionality in your loadout, more intentionality on audio and how you approach any one decision. And then for, you know, the verticality piece, this is one of the coolest compounds that we did. It's Quarry, so it's our take on a pit map. So very similar to any of the undergrounds that we've ever done, but we intentionally built it to say, okay, what are the problems that we have with our underground layers, and how can we build around that and really fix it? And so this one, you know, you have a lot of options. And so you have a building on top of you that you're able to fortify. You can also leave the compound, but because it's more tight and constricted and it's in this quarry, you can also fortify this better than almost any other compound on this map.
Now, so much for breaking up stalemates. Nah, don't get me wrong. I'm surprised that they're talking so much about traps and everything. Because wasn't there a time where they said they want less traps and now it's easier to place them and they're mentioning traps like crazy? I'm confused. I don't mind. I love traps. Yes, I'm one of the trap enjoyers. With Constantina Poison, alert trip mines everywhere. Already took away my alert trip mine sticky bomb combo, but hey. Yeah, let's see what else they have to say.
Yeah, I mean, looking at this footage here, it just seems very big. I mean, I know, like, of course, I put hundreds of hours into different areas already in Hunt, but like, I don't know, somehow this seems larger.
It's way more grand, and I'd say, you know, Stefan Heinrich and the entire art team on this map have done such an incredible job of capturing how big this world is and how far we can push it, and that's a big shout out to our engine team for
just compare this to the quarry that we actually have on the south.
We want it to feel bigger than what it is. Even though the dimensions of the map are the same, we want
crazy good
to
job,
feel
man.
This sense of verticality and this intentionality behind it to drive all of their decisions.
How is performance so far on this map been for you guys from a technical perspective?
DLSS,
you're
man.
DLSS, for example.
Yeah, so, you know, I can just say, like, we've kind of exceeded all of our expectations as to what we thought we would be able to get on this map, and that's mostly shout out to the new engine for us, empowering us to be able to do that. But performance is as good, if not way better, than our existing maps.
So right here, we're seeing what looks like a mining facility, or is this an example of one of the mega structures you talked about?
Okay, first of all, yeah, that looks absolutely amazing. Oro Gordo mine. On top of that, talking about the performance, I mean, what is Crytek about to say, right? Hey, how good is the performance? Well, actually, it's trash. I mean, of course they say it's good, right? For me, and I said it already in a previous video, whenever you have these map transitions, like here, for example, going to Oro Gordo mine, currently you have frame drops, right? Right here, it's smooth. I mean, obviously, when they show this as marketing, it has to be smooth, right? Otherwise, this would be a disaster. But this is what I expect. This smoothness, if they can deliver this, yeah, dude, great game.
This is Oro Gordo mine, and so right here, you know, when you think about like traditional Hunt compounds, right? You can kind of see a perimeter here, but this structure backs directly into the mine. And so when you enter the boss layer, you also have a direct shot into the mines, but that also means you have to be cognizant.
But this also means when these compounds are that big,
so this
do they overlap sometimes?
It's kind of like an L shape. So this isn't
because the map is still 1 kilometer by 1 kilometer.
And so inside of here, you can take a lift to go across, or you have to choose a route that's a little bit more risky and puts you exposed.
At a top level, it feels like this isn't like too out of line. It's obviously like 16 compounds, which I think is the same as the other Hunt Showdown maps.
I think the mines are the gray areas on the map.
Can you kind of talk me through the design direction of what we're seeing here. I can see the railroad, for example, threading through a couple compounds.
So one of the biggest changes
finding Roger is a little bit easier, I guess.
Is in maps 1 through 3, we have this terminology called POIs, and POIs are compounds which always give 2 clues, essentially. And in our existing maps, what we would do is we would say, hey, the two clue, like the POIs would always be in central locations, right?
Yeah.
But you want to, and so we do that because everyone has a fair opportunity in order to get there. We flipped that on its head for Colorado, and we said, hey, we're actually going to put the POIs on the outskirts. So Preston Oil is a POI that features 2 clues, as well as Gasworks and Miner's Folly. Those 3 all have 2 clues inside of there, so those are POIs. And what that's done is that's kind of...
Give me a second. But that also means that people spawning there have a head start. Doesn't it? Like, don't get me wrong, because sometimes when you spawn northeast of Lawson Station, north of Golden Acres, you skip Golden Acres and you beeline Lawson Station because you get the double clue. So that's why you have very often a lot of action very quickly at Lawson Station. You might not have to do that anymore, and you're not skipping actually the first compound. Well, let's see what they have to say.
It changed how players play, because in our existing maps, you have that moment where you're like, oh, okay, well, I can skip this first compound, go to the second one and get 2 clues, and then that changes the way that you play. Whereas in this one, if you spawn at Kingfisher Foundry in the bottom middle, you might actually just go left to Preston Oil to go ahead and get 2 clues, and that changes your pathing, and it changes your decision making as to how you want to approach any one decision. So that was a big part of it. But from there,
I don't know if I would skip it though.
Our anchoring statement of we wanted to have mountains in the middle, and those mountains need to have mines. And so we started with, okay, let's create 2 mines. We're going to create these 2 mines and these mountain ranges in the middle. And how can we mold everything else around that? And does it play well?
I guess I'm also wondering, are there any compounds that have, or maybe you can just sort of talk about one as an example, like where the adjacent compound has an interesting relationship to another compound beside it?
Really a big focal point of the engagements happening between O'Donovan Stone, La Plata Mine, Oro Gordo Mine, and Split River. Okay, so those are the 4 in the middle. Okay, now Montero's Malt has a line of sight on O'Donovan Stone, but O'Donovan Stone can see Gasworks, for example, and they can also see the crossing of people going into Montero's Malt. So if you spawn Grizzly Lodge, you're like, cool, I go to O'Donovan Stone. Now, if I'm playing a sniper, I'm watching that cross, and that's intentional for me to be able to do that. But really, the whole core of fast rotations and being able to get good lines of sight on players ends up being between the 2 mines, because that is an elevated position. And so you can very quickly move from Split River to La Plata Mine.
It will be really chaotic over there.
As to how people play and how they position, because there is a strategy that we see inside of our playtest where people will just go into the middle and then they set up control around that. They fortify the mines to the best of their ability, and they're just playing to the strength of their loadout to say, okay, well, I got 1 clue. I know it could be in La Plata Mine or it could be in Split River, and now we're going to just see where people are coming from, and they get the advantage from that. The other thing that we did was basically right between Deadfall Timber, La Plata Mine, and Kingfisher Foundry, there is a watchtower. And I think we can see it in the video. I forget exactly where it's at, but there's a spot that you can see this, the iconic Hunt Showdown.
They reused a few things,
we put
which
that
is okay.
On a hill. And when you're in there, you can see Deadfall Timber. You can see a direct line of sight on Deadfall Timber. You can see almost all of La Plata Mine, and you actually get to see Kingfisher as well.
It seems like from what we've seen of the mines, you've not tried to make them too bottlenecky, right?
Correct. Because, yeah, that was a bit. We learned that lesson early on in playtesting. Mm-hmm. The more choke pointy it was, the less likely players were to go in it.
Yeah, I mean, that can be intimidating unto itself. Like, it seemed like there was a lot of choice available to me in terms of diversion and...
The thing is, when it comes to choke points, they're always bad for the team that comes after the first team who is already setting up there. All these extraction shooters, the team that is in the position first has an advantage, because moving across the map always will produce sound. You trigger something, or you're just running and walking. Somebody who doesn't move doesn't produce any sound. It's also the tricky thing when you're actually looking for a sniper. The sniper will rarely move, at least the average sniper, but he will hear you walk and run. So what do? Do you run to be a harder target? Or do you walk so it takes the sniper a little bit longer to realize you're there, but the moment he realizes you're an easy target, it's difficult. And it's not just hunt. It's also when you played Escape from Tarkov the old days with the old customs. Man, dude, there were some crazy bottlenecks, and the people who spawned close, they were just sitting there waiting for people to show up and going through these bottlenecks. Bottlenecks in extraction shooters, or specifically in extraction shooters, are not that great. You can do bottlenecks when you have multiple of them, and I can choose. So if I have a bad feeling about one, I can scout this, for example, in Hunt with a Beetle, and then I see it's clear, I can pass it. But if you don't have these scouting options, then a little bit difficult. So less choke points, the better it is for the game.
Sort of losing people in the mines in a good way.
So La Plata Mine is another one of our mega structures. So this one is basically one giant building that sticks together and has a bunch of different
I hope we
meanings,
see it from inside.
The other thing is depending on where you approach, it's either you're fighting all the way on an upward angle or you're fighting down. So if you come from the mines, you're at the highest point of elevation of this compound, and you are looking down and you're seeing every area down to the left. Whereas if you come from here, you're fighting up. If you come from the lower end, you have a very good idea as to where your enemies can be. But if you come from the higher
I wonder how
side,
far you can toss a frag bomb here with picture when you're at the top.
Perfect information, so you have to be more intentional with where your sight lines are, and you're more exposed. So higher risk to come from the higher verticality, lower risk to come from lower. So this, we see tons of engagements happen in and around this area.
But Obi-Wan,
so this right here, you get to see this. And so if we pause right here, if you don't mind, this is La Plata Mine. You have full view over this, and you also see the entrance from the north mine that comes out, one of the entrances. To the right, where those pine trees are, that is where the south mine, one of the south mine exits are, as well as the one right over
but
right.
You cannot go up these mountains.
You are gaining a lot of intel here. Right over this hill that you see in the back distance, that is the connective part to Split River. And so this whole area ends up being this massive contention point. And when you get a one boss contract and it's in one of these two mines, or one of these two compounds, whew, good luck, man. It's a hoot. This right here actually does a really good job of capturing the exact feel that we wanted to get, which was, we have these scaling mountains, we have this big world with these massive mountains.
Can players expect any maybe Easter eggs? Obviously, you've had some that refer to movies in particular.
We love the exploration part of this, of the Easter eggs, but the team, as soon as we wrap up, we're always like, hey, what can we do that's pretty cool from the Easter egg perspective that can
always
and delight
nice,
our
man.
players who are really looking for them? So there's a few for sure.
It's been interesting because I've been in the games industry a while, and I've heard many games kind of use verticality as a kind of talking
just a
point,
catchy phrase,
piece of identity. And of course, I understand what it means, but I guess like from a game design perspective, what is it about verticality, about these kind of z-axis designs, right, that like makes a game like Hunt more interesting? Like functionally, what is it doing for me as a player, with my teammates and with my opponents?
Now, verticality is a very interesting point. Before Scott will say a few things, I think that most games with verticality, it's more of a catchy phrase. Just because I can climb up a tower and shoot from there, or because I can do like 1 or 2 wall runs, that's not verticality. I want to have meaningful options that open up the gameplay, and then it will have impact on my gameplay. That would be great. That would be the fucking dream. What I see right here is underground or above ground, different options, different paths. That's great. These mega compounds are... Yeah, I don't know. This will be a totally different experience, which is great.
Verticality is good when it's intentional. And by being intentional, I mean, if your game's design lends itself well to it, you can lean into it a little bit more. And for Hunt, you know, Hunt is a sandbox title, right? We want players to bring whatever tools and weapons that they want to bring into the map, and they have to solve the puzzle of how they kill the boss and get out their own way, right? And so for us, more options that we give the players that are meaningful, the better. And what we want to do in Hunt is make sure that, okay, verticality. Obviously, if you have the higher position, by default, we learned this from Star Wars, you have the advantage, right?
Yeah.
And so for us, we know that the more reward you get, the higher risk we have to put on it. And so for us, when we look at verticality throughout our levels, especially inside at like a per compound basis, we say, well, if you're going to take the vertical position, you're going to be more exposed. And in a game that's one life, where you lose your hunter if you die, you have to make a very deliberate decision on, is your hunter expendable, or are you good enough to be able to pull it off? So for us, I think it leans into the high stakes that we always want to achieve, which is to say, here's a problem, how you want to solve it is your choice. And I think that's one of the most powerful pieces of what we've done here in Mammon's Gulch, but also just in Hunt Showdown, is we're not prescriptive. We're not saying this is the only way you can play. And the more options we give our players inside of the map, the better it is for them to experience and continue to pour thousands of hours into.
Now, before we continue, I would like to say something here. Oh, surprise, surprise. I disagree. High risk means high reward. This is not true. At least not when I play Hunt. Maybe I did play a different Hunt Showdown. Right now, the people who play fast, who play the objective, they have high risk. Because they have to kill a lot of people that are going for the objective too. Now, the reward for that normally is the bounty token. You can, of course, argue, well, I had awesome PvP and that's what I'm looking for. But per definition, even though it's a sandbox game, the token is the objective and that is the reward you want to extract, right? And I agree fully with Scott, it's a sandbox game. People can play the way they want. You don't have to agree with that, obviously, but they bought a game and they want to enjoy it their way, right? But high risk means high reward is not true, because I can, in theory, sit outside of the compound, wait until everybody else did their fighting, and then just pick off the survivors that are down on bars, low on mats, and low on ammo. Where's the high risk in that? Now, this is not a Hunt Showdown specific thing. This is the case for all extraction type-ish games. Be it Escape from Tarkov. You go interchange and you want to extract over there? Good luck. Marauders with the exit gates, where a triple team is sitting there and blasting your little beginner ship. Yeah, that's nice. The cycle where you call in dropship, people see the dropship and rush your dropship. They just spawned in and you're full of loot. I mean, sure, it's part of the kick, right? I get it. And it's in all extraction games. But it would be really, really cool if somebody would find a way to actually make it high risk, high reward. Because right now, when I play aggressively, I go for the boss. I probably have to kill people while doing the boss. Then I need to defend the boss lair. And then I need to go through the people that try to stop me from extracting. And that last team right there, there isn't really the same risk that I have. That is low risk, high reward, if you see the bounty token as the reward. So it would be nice if we could find a way to balance this, which is borderline impossible. I don't want to criticize this too much, because I'm going to be honest here, I don't have a solution for this myself. People are like, well, you have to move, because if you don't move, then something in the game damages you. But sometimes you can't move. there's like 5 teams out there pointing their barrels at your door, and you go out there, you get fucking blasted, right? So really, really difficult, but man, maybe one day somebody comes with a solution. That would be crazy.
So I'd say that's really like my key is verticality for us really just lends itself so well to who we are and what kind of game it is, because as you add more verticality, you get more sound cues, right? It's not, we aren't doing jump pads.
No, please.
Or adding these other elements that allow players to get onto verticality with relative ease. There's a cost. So any decision that you make has a cost, and that cost can be consequences, and it can also just result in your death. So sure, you might be able to climb a ladder and get into a high spot, but now you're on a roof, and also the ladder was making all this noise, so people have a better idea of where you're at.
The game has always been one where seeing is a skill, right? You know, the ability to spot players in different environments, different lighting conditions even.
Oh yeah.
Is something that you can bring to the table as a player.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, that makes me wonder a little bit about weather conditions and how you see them interacting with this map.
Yeah, so, you know, at first we're going to start off with, you know, 3 times of day, kind of the traditional. We have 1 nighttime and then 2 daytime maps. And then from there, you know, we're really excited to get fog into this.
I mean, fog is okay.
Into this map, as well as Thunder Shower. We think Thunder Shower is one of the most dynamic times of day that we have. And we think it has played really well on this, but it's not quite ready to ship with it on launch. So
shame. True shame.
What we don't know, and I'm excited about, is which ones we want to try on this, you know?
Okay, what about this, Crazy Mike? How about we have some dynamic weather, where it changes? From, I don't know, sunny to fog to rain, back to fog to sunny, to dawn or whatever, maybe even to night. How about this? That would be cool. I mean, from daytime to nighttime is maybe extreme, but I could see a transition between fog and rain or fog and daytime. That would be cool. Maybe something like this. Because being stuck in thunder shower or thunderstorm or whatever you want to call that, difficult.
Oh, well, one of the fan favorites has been Inferno, right? Now, Inferno could flip this entire experience all on its head, but we haven't gotten to that point yet. But that is a conversation that I'm very interested in having.
One of the things I've always enjoyed about Hunt is that it does not hold the player's hand. You know, like, I think in almost all aspects of the game, like, you guys are really trusting players to make their own fun.
It gives you the basics like a map.
Strategies and tactics. But of course, there are aspects of the level design that are subtly conveying certain ideas or approaches. You know, can you maybe name some of those that players may not realize? I mean, obviously, like, you know, when you put a light on something or something is bright compared to what's around it, like, that is drawing your eye toward it, I think, in most situations.
Yeah, so, you know, obviously lighting is a big piece. Pathways around the floor, like dirt paths.
The lighting looks really good, though.
Clearings inside of a forest. Those things all kind
not
of
too dark, not too bright.
Into it. But the other thing is
playing that during nighttime,
levels,
though.
One of the things that we try to achieve is, as you're just walking, like, really good level design ends up feeling like a flowing river, right? Which means, you know, when you watch a river kind of flow, you watch it kind of move around the rocks and kind of form to it, and it's very smooth and intentional. We always are looking at, hey, how do we stick together these two pieces in a way that makes sense for the player? And when you see here, right, like just in that moment as you were walking down, you can chart 2 direct paths around this individual mountain pass, right, or this little rock formation, right? You can either choose to go over to the right because you saw that there was a path over there, or you can go to the left. And these tiny little decisions
I like
need to be
that
conveyed, and
you don't have a lot of open space.
And we want to reveal them at the moment
you find cover very quickly.
Calls. Because if you reveal it too early, it's kind of information overload, you know? But when you reveal it at the right time, you're making the player say, okay, I can make a choice. When you enter a compound, we want players to be able to make a decision of, I've committed to breaking into this perimeter.
There's a bit.
Where's my next move? What's the next tactical decision? And some of that can just be a building. Some of that can be
I want to
cover.
play
That's the key for us, trying to figure
the torture.
out, hey, what can lead the player to make more informed decisions on?
I think it's insanely difficult to make really good maps that flow.
Each approach, we call them approaches, right? So each approach needs to be able to fit like kind of like a specific weapon in mind. So we try to make sure that all of our compounds have at least a 360 degree, sometimes 270 degree approach points. But those approach points are intentionally designed where we're like, hey, this is where snipers are going to kind of come from, we believe, because of these reasons. Here's an area where it has more dense forest, so shotgun players can go through there. But then you hit a choke point. And so you're going from the perimeter into the compound, right? Each of those choke points are built in such a way where you're dealing with A, animal attractors that you have to deal with. B, you might have to deal with meatheads, right? And then if a meathead's in front of a gate that you already have to open because that comes at a cost, now you have to change your strategy. Or you're like, well, I guess I'm going to kill this meathead quickly with like a dynamite, give my position away and break in, or I'm going to reposition myself. So all of those things add to the mix, and what AI spawns inside of there, you know, it could be an armored with chains, like a wired. It could be a wired. It could be an immolator. All those things are random, and so you always have a different experience every time you go into these compounds, which really changes the dynamic. We don't want you to have one way to solve the puzzle. We want you to be able to always solve the puzzle different ways because we present a different challenge at you.
Well, Scott, you know, thanks so much for talking to us, bringing us through all these details. I think there's surely a lot more here we could spend time talking about. So, you know, looking forward to discovering this map for myself. And thanks again.
Okay. Well, nothing more to add here, honestly. There is a very long video. It's gonna be a long night. I hope you enjoyed this video. I shared my thoughts, my concerns, but overall, this looks great. Mid of August. I hope there won't be too many technical issues and we can... Thank you for watching. I hope we get 2 or 3 more dev updates before the patch hits. It will actually turn out at the end. Yeah, and that's it for today. That is a crazy video. I hope you're okay that I made it a very long one because, well, the raw footage is already over half an hour, so there is that, I'd say. Now, big shout out for Legends right here, my patrons. Thank you very much for supporting me over on Patreon. As always, you are the greatest. Thank you for watching. I hope we get 2 or 3 more dev updates before the patch hits. If you feel like it, like and subscribe, that would be much appreciated. I'll see you in the next one. Until then, have a good day and bye bye.